Bible in a Year, the Message Version, April 6. Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 1 through chapter 30, verse 20. These are the terms of the covenant that God commanded Moses to make with the people of Israel in the land of Moab, renewing the covenant he made with them at Horeb. Moses called all Israel together and said, "You've seen with your own eyes everything that God did in Egypt to Pharaoh and his servants and to the land itself, the massive trials to which you were eyewitnesses, the great signs and miracle wonders. But God didn't give you an understanding heart or perceptive eyes or attentive ears until right now, this very day. I took you through the wilderness for 40 years, and through all that time the clothes on your back didn't wear out, the sandals on your feet didn't wear out, and you lived well without bread and wine and beer, proving to you that I am in fact God, your God. When you arrived here in this place, Sihon, king of Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, met us, primed for war, but we beat them. We took their land and gave it as an inheritance to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and half-tribe of Manasseh. Diligently kept the words of this covenant. Do what they say so that you will live well and wisely in every detail. You are all standing here today in the presence of God, your God, the heads of your tribes, your leaders, your officials, all Israel, your babies, your wives, the resident foreigners in your camps who fetch you firewood and water, ready to cross over into the solemnly sworn covenant that God, your God, is making with you today, the covenant that this day confirms that you are His people and He is God, your God, just as He promised you and your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am not making this covenant and its oath with you alone. I am making it with you who are standing here today in the presence of God, our God, yes, but also with those who are not here today. You know the conditions in which we lived in Egypt and how we crisscrossed through nations in our travel. You got an eyeful of their obscenities, their wood and stone, silver and gold junk gods. Don't let down your guard, lest even now, today, someone, man or woman, clan or tribe, gets sidetracked from God, our God, and gets involved with the no gods of the nations, lest some poisonous weeds sprout and spread among you. A person who hears the words of the covenant oath but exempts himself, thinking, "I'll live just the way I please, thank you," and ends up ruining life for everybody. God won't let him off the hook. God's anger and jealousy will erupt like a volcano against that person. The curses written in this book will bury him. God will delete his name from the records. God will separate him out from the tribes of Israel for special punishment, according to all the curses of the covenant written in this book of Revelation. The next generation, your children, who come after you, and the foreigner who comes from a far country, will be appalled when they see the widespread devastation, how God made the whole land sick. They'll see a fire-blackened wasteland of brimstone and salt flats, nothing planted, nothing growing, not so much as a blade of grass anywhere, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zebulun, which God overthrew in fiery rage. All the nations will ask, why did God do this to this country? What on earth could have made him this angry? Your children will answer, because they abandoned the covenant of the God of their ancestors that he made with them after he got them out of Egypt. They went off and worshipped other gods, submitted to gods they'd never heard of before, gods they had no business dealing with. So God's anger erupted against that land, and all the curses written in this book came down on him. God furiously pulled them, roots and all, out of their land and dumped them in another country, as you can see. God, our God, will take care of the hidden things, but the revealed things are our business. It's up to us and our children to attend to all the terms in this revelation. Here's what will happen. While you're out among the nations where God has dispersed you, and the blessings and curses come in just the way I have set them before you, and you and your children take them seriously and come back to God, your God, and obey Him with your whole heart and soul, according to everything that I commanded you today, God, your God, will restore everything you lost. He'll have compassion on you. He'll come back and pick up the pieces from all the places where you were scattered. No matter how far away you end up, God, your God, will get you out of there and bring you back to the land your ancestors once possessed. It will be yours again. He will give you a good life and make you more numerous than your ancestors. God, your God, will cut away the thick calluses on your heart and your children's hearts, freeing you to love God, your God, with your whole heart and soul and really live. God, your God, will put all these curses on your enemies who hated you and were out to get you. And you will make a new start, listening obediently to God, keeping all His commandments that I'm commanding you today. God, your God, will outdo Himself in making things go well for you. You'll have babies, get calves, grow crops, and enjoy an all-around good life. Yes, God will start enjoying you again, making things go well for you just as He enjoyed doing it for you and your ancestors. But only if you listen obediently to God, your God, and keep the commandments and regulations written in this book of Revelation. Nothing half-hearted here. You must return to God, your God, totally, heart and soul, holding back nothing. This commandment that I'm commanding you today isn't too much for you. It's not out of your reach. It's not on a high mountain. You don't have to get mountaineers to climb the peak and bring it down to your level and explain it before you can live it. And it's not across the ocean. You don't have to send sailors out to get it, bring it back, and then explain it before you can live it. No, the word is right here and now, as near as the tongue in your mouth, as near as the heart in your chest. Just do it. Look at what I've done for you today. I've placed in front of you life and good, death and evil. And I command you today, love God, your God, walk in His ways, keep His commandments, regulations, and rules so that you will really live exuberantly, blessed by God, your God, in the land you are about to enter and possess. But I warn you, if you have a change of heart, refuse to listen obediently, and willfully go off to serve and worship other gods, you will most certainly die. You won't last long in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. I call heaven and earth to witness against you today. I place before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life so that you and your children will live and love God your God, listening obediently to Him, firmly embracing Him. Oh, yes, He is life itself, a long life settled on the soil that God your God promised to give your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Luke chapter 11, verse 37 through chapter 12, verse 7. When he, Jesus, finished that talk, a Pharisee asked him to dinner. He entered his house and sat right down at the table. The Pharisee was shocked and somewhat offended when he saw that Jesus didn't wash up before the meal. But the master said to him, I know you, Pharisees, buff the surface of your cups and plates so they sparkle in the sun. But I also know your insides are maggoty with greed and secret evil. Stupid Pharisees. Didn't the one who made the outside also make the inside? Turn both your pockets and your hearts inside out and give generously to the poor. Then your lives will be clean, not just your dishes and your hands. I've had it with you. You're hopeless, you Pharisees. Frauds. You keep meticulous account books, tithing on every nickel and dime you get, but manage to find loopholes for getting around basic matters of justice and God's love. Careful bookkeeping is commendable, but the basics are required. You're hopeless, you Pharisees, frauds. You love sitting at the head table at church dinners, love preening yourselves on the radiance of public flattery. Frauds. You're just like unmarked graves. People walk all over that nice grassy surface, never suspecting the rot and corruption that is 6 feet under. One of the religion scholars spoke up. Teacher, do you realize that in saying these things you're insulting us? He said, Yes, I can be even more explicit. You're hopeless. You religion scholars, you load people down with rules and regulations, nearly breaking their backs, but never lift even a finger to help. You're hopeless. You build tombs for the prophets your ancestors killed. The tombs you build are monuments to your murdering ancestors more than to murdered prophets. That accounts for God's wisdom, saying, I will send them prophets and apostles, but they'll kill them and run them off. What it means is that every drop of righteous blood ever spilled from the time earth began until now, from the blood of Abel to the blood of Zechariah, who was struck down between altar and sanctuary, is on your heads. Yes, it's on the bill of this generation, and this generation will pay. You're hopeless. You religion scholars. You took the key of knowledge, but instead of unlocking doors, you locked them. You won't go in yourself, and you won't let anyone else in either. As soon as Jesus left the table, the religion scholars and Pharisees went into a rage. They went over and over everything he said, plotting how they could trap him in something from his own mouth. By this time, the crowd, unwieldy and stepping on each other's toes, numbered into the thousands. But Jesus' primary concern was his disciples. He said to them, Watch yourselves carefully so you don't get contaminated with Pharisee yeast, Pharisee phoniness. You can't keep your true self hidden forever. Before long, you'll be exposed. You can't hide behind a religious mask forever. Sooner or later, the mask will slip, and your true face will be known. You can't whisper one thing in private and preach the opposite in public. The day's coming when those whispers will be repeated all over town. I'm speaking to you as dear friends. Don't be bluffed into silence or insincerity by the threats of religious bullies. True, they can kill you, but then what can they do? There's nothing that they can do to your soul, your core being. Save your fear for God, who holds your entire life, body, and soul in His hands. What's the price of 2 or 3 pet canaries? Some lose change, right? But God never overlooks a single one, and He pays even greater attention to you, down to the last detail, even numbering the hairs on your head. So don't get intimidated by all this bully talk. You're worth more than 1,000,000 canaries. Psalm chapter 78, verse 1 through verse 31. An SF psalm. Listen, dear friends, to God's truth. Bend your ear to what I tell you. I'm chewing on the morsel of a proverb. I'll let you in on the sweet old truths, stories we've heard from our fathers, counsel we've learned at our mother's knee. We're not keeping this to ourselves. We're passing it along to the next generation. God's fame and fortune, the marvelous things He has done. He planted a witness in Jacob, set His word firmly in Israel, then commanded our parents to teach it to their children, so the next generation would know, and all the generations to come know the truth and tell the stories so their children can trust in God. Never forget the works of God, but keep His commandments to the letter. Heaven forbid they should be like their parents, bull-headed and bad, a fickle and faithless bunch who never stayed true to God. The Ephraimites, armed to the teeth, ran off when the battle began. They were cowards to God's covenant, refused to walk by His word. They forgot what He had done, marvels He'd done right before their eyes. He performed miracles in plain sight of their parents in Egypt, out on the fields of Zoan. He split the sea, and they walked right through it. He piled the waters to the right and the left. He led them by day with a cloud, led them all the night long with a fiery torch. He split rocks in the wilderness, gave them all they could drink from underground springs. He made creeks flow from sheer rock, and water pour out like a river. All they did was sin even more, rebel in the desert against the high God. They tried to get their own way with God, clamored for favors, for special attention. They whined like spoiled children. Why can't God give us a decent meal in this desert? Sure, He struck the rock and the water flowed. Creeks cascaded from the rock. But how about some fresh baked bread? How about a nice cut of meat? When God heard that, He was furious. His anger flared against Jacob. He lost his temper with Israel. It was clear they didn't believe God, had no intention of trusting in His help. But God helped them anyway, commanded the clouds, and gave orders that opened the gates of heaven. He rained down showers of manna to eat. He gave them the bread of heaven. They ate the bread of the mighty angels. He sent them all the food they could eat. He let east wind break loose from the skies, gave a strong push to south wind. This time it was birds that rained down, succulent birds, an abundance of birds. He aimed them right for the center of their camp. All around their tents there were birds. They ate and had their fill. He handed them everything they craved on a platter. But their greed knew no bounds. They stuffed their mouths with more and more. Finally, God was fed up. His anger erupted. He cut down their brightest and best. He laid low Israel's finest young men. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 19 and verse 20. Truth lasts. Lies are here today, gone tomorrow. Evil scheming distorts the schemer. Peace planning brings joy to the planner. This was a daily reading from the Message version of the Bible, read to you by Bible in a Year.